A black man by the name of Vaughx Booker recently survived an attempted lynching in Indiana by a group of white men, and I just wanted to bring the story to your attention and also discuss a bit implications of something like this. So I'm gonna play a few clips from this is from a Democracy Now! Report on this incident. This incident occurred on 4th of July weekend in Indiana, and it was in Bloomington, Indiana. And as of right now, I believe, or yeah, as far as I understand, still no charges have been brought against these folks that were responsible for this. So I'll do a follow up on this to dig a little bit deeper, but came across and I just wanted to highlight this. So listen to Amy Goodman from Democracy Now! Just reporting on the story, and then we're going to hear from Vaughx Booker, and we'll play a few clips. I'm going to play this first clip at regular speed. I believe it's about 2 minutes, and then the next clip is a bit longer, so I'm gonna play that a little sped up. But so just a warning, going to get through a few clips here. So.
As we go to Indiana, where authorities are investigating a violent racist attack on an African-American man that took place over July 4th weekend. It was caught on film. But more than a week later, no arrests have been made in response to the incident. A warning to our viewers, this story contains disturbing images. Vaughx Booker was at Lake Monroe near Bloomington, Indiana, in the Indiana State Forest with friends on July 4th when 5 white men pinned him to a tree, beat him, threatened to lynch him. Booker is a member of the Monroe County Human Rights Commission in Bloomington. He says he was able to get out of the mob's hands after passersby intervened to get the attackers off him. Last week, Vaughx held a news conference with his attorney, local elected officials, and 2 of the white witnesses who intervened on his behalf during the attempted lynching. This is a reporter questioning one of those witnesses, Stephen Cox.
Vaughx, had said multiple times yesterday that when they were holding him down, calling for a noose, threatening to harm him, he truly thought that they were trying to kill him. Yeah. As someone who was an outsider, kind of able to see all the moving parts of this, did you also think that it was a possibility that Vaughx might not make it?
Yes. When they called him, you can leave the boy here. You guys can go, but you can leave the boy here. So the white people could go, but they wanted us to leave him there and to do what they wanted to with him. I don't think anybody could do that in good conscience. I'm not a fighter, so I'm like, but I wasn't going to leave. But it was scary. I mean, probably the scariest thing I've ever seen.
And this is a reporter questioning another white witness, Brennan Golightly.
In your opinion, if you all, the other people that were there as well as yourself that had their phones out there with Vaughx, if you were not there, do you think the situation would have ended differently? I think it would have ended very differently. I also feel if it was me or any one of our other campers, that wouldn't have happened. That's just my personal feeling of the situation. I do think because of the color of Vaughx's skin that this happened to him.
The FBI is investigating the attack as a potential hate crime, and Bloomington Mayor John Hamilton has condemned it in a statement. But Vaughx Booker is now calling on the U.S. District.
All right, so I just want to also play a clip here from Vaughx Booker, him describing the situation, and I'm going to play this clip sped up at 1.5 times because it's a bit of we have to get through about almost 5 minutes of the clip, and so I just want to get through it a little quicker, and then so no disrespect to Vaughx Booker here, I don't want to I want him to be heard, so apologies there, but I do just want to get through the clip because it's a lot to get through in this clip. So there we go.
Of Southern Indiana to convene a grand jury to take up the case. Vaughx Booker joins us now from Bloomington. Welcome to Democracy Now! I'm so sorry to hear about what happened to you. Can you describe it was July 4th?
It was July 4th, the nation's Independence Day. I was simply trying to gather with a group of friends to watch the lunar eclipse.
You walked into Indiana State Forest?
Yeah, we just made, our site was just about a short 10-minute hike in. A friend and I, we were going to go meet a group of others. On our way in, we were confronted by a man who was wearing a oversized cowboy hat with a Confederate flag print on it. We were cordial enough, continued towards the site. A moment later, he pursued us on an ATV, told us we were on private property. I knew we weren't actually on private property, but rather than have some type of confrontation, we just simply apologized and continued to our site and spoke to the organizer. From there, we didn't know what would escalate later.
So you went to your campsite, and what did the person who ran the campsite tell you?
So he informed us that this gentleman actually wasn't the property owner, that he knew the property owner. So from there, we just went ahead and advised the rest of our group that they should take the public access way of the beach so there wouldn't be any dispute at all. Shortly later, some of our group joined, and they had informed us that these gentlemen had set up sort of a barricade or blockade on the beach using the boat and some ATVs. And as they were coming in, they had white power and some other phrases chanted at them. It was all very disturbing.
So then explain what happened. Explain when they actually physically attacked you, Vaughx.
So a friend and I went down to see if we could just talk to some of these folks and build a rapport and reason. The conversation was going well. Then this gentleman that with the Confederate flag hat on initially joined. He quickly became belligerent. We felt the situation devolving, so we just simply walked away. A few moments later, as we were walking away, I heard footsteps quickly approaching. This man came at me and swung his fist at me. Another gentleman came. So I was on the ground with them. A third gentleman came. We tussled for a moment. Two more men came. And from there, they were able to pin and drag my body to this tree and put their body weight on me. And as several of the folks started kicking and punching me, there's a moment where one of these gentlemen jumps on my neck with both of his feet, and I can feel his full body weight impact me. It was scary. They were literally in the video. You can hear one of the gentlemen refer to me as nappy headed. At that time, he had his hands in my hair and was using my hair as leverage to strike me in the back of the head as his friends held me down.
And then what happened?
The noise, one of the men's daughters heard us. She came out screaming for her father to let me go, for his friends to get off me. They refused and tried to tell her to go away. More people heard the daughter screaming because we were still close to the roadside and people were passing through. People just started coming to my defense. They yelled at the men to let me go. They came forward as these men pushed them away or swatted at them. There's a moment where I hear a lady yell out, "Don't kill him." And it's a moment where you realize that you're hearing your own potential death being narrated in front of you. And you have to be aware of George Floyd and how many other Black folks in our history have heard the executions spoken before them in real time. I felt myself want to cry out, "I can't breathe," with the weight of these men on top of me. And I just couldn't say the words. So these folks continue to stop just merely being bystanders, as we've seen in so many videos, and actively engage and resist. And they were finally able to pull me from under these men. And then they use themselves as sort of a human shield to make sure that as these men pursued us, that I was still safe.
Did you?
All right. So let me just play. I just like to play a couple other clips from in this interview that I thought were definitely just things that stuck out to me that I wanted to make sure that you heard as well. So here's another. This one is a shorter clip of Vaughx speaking, and this one, as I said, will be sorry about that. Sped up.
There's a point where this gentleman, as a command, tells a friend to get a noose, not get a rope, but simply get a noose, as the first term that comes into his mind, with the heavy connotation in American history with Black people and lynchings. It was an odd thing to hear. Rather than even get a rope, it was just the noose was the first thing that came to his mind.
So how did the police?
So yeah, there you can hear him describing how one of the gentlemen talk about, instructed one of the other ones to go get a noose. So you already know what this is. Just gonna play one last clip. This is Vaughx Sorry, this is Vaughx speaking about some of once the how the police became involved in the situation. So Harry is describing how the police became involved in the situation and what happened there.
So how did the police end up coming? Did you and the others in your party call the police? And what did they do?
I know that I called the authorities. I'm not sure if other folks had already called the authorities as well. It's a state perk, so the Department of Natural Resources responded. They took about 40 minutes to get there. Before they even came to see if any of us were injured, they went and spoke to these men that had attacked us first. Then about 20 minutes later, they came to us. They didn't seem very interested in actually doing an investigation. It wasn't until the white bystanders that had stayed on the beach with me just became fiercely passionate and objecting to me being treated this way and feeling like there was a miscarriage of justice, that these officers went back and got these individuals' names. Then they came and took some photographs of my injuries, but they never specifically asked me if I needed an ambulance.
You had patches of your hair pulled out?
I did have patches of hair missing. There was a moment where the commanding officer showed up and he instantly starts lecturing me on property rights. One of the things that I do in our community is I also chair the county's Affordable Housing Commission. So I've done that for 2 years, so I'm intimately acquainted with the details of property rights in our county. I pulled up the county rights, the land rights in my phone in real time to show this commanding officer that this land wasn't actually these folks' land as they were claiming. He still continued to berate me. I explained to him how they had literally tried to lynch me. And he said, well, I could go arrest them, but then they could say to us, well, what do you mean? We can't defend our property? And he was just fixated on this notion that somehow, even if I had been on private property, which I wasn't, that superseded the importance of my life.
So there, Vaughx is just describing, I mean, these dudes, this is a dude just rolling through, trying to have himself a, regular, I mean, to each his own. Fourth of July celebration. Me personally, not a moment I'm celebrating as a Black person in this country, unfortunately. But that's his prerogative, and he's totally entitled to that. And he's somebody who's involved in politics and in fact in racial justice issues directly. And so he, for this to happen to him, I'm sure must have felt even more surreal. And this is what's going on. We hear about these stories all the time, and I just wanted to, I only see these things get reported on in places like Democracy Now!, and I don't see this on CNN and MSNBC, and you're not going to see a story like this. They'll do 24 hours a day, 5 to 7 days a week of coverage about Russia and Russiagate and all that sort of stuff, but they'll never, they won't give an hour of their airtime to a story like this. And really, when these are the sort of things that are happening around that we want, we should know about, and we should keep prominent in our minds so that people don't get this false idea that racism is in the past and lynching isn't a thing anymore or anything like that. Like we just saw what happened with George Floyd being lynched, and now and then there was just a slew of lynchings in the wake of the George Floyd protests. Had people, anytime you see a story that says a Black person was found hanging from a tree, I don't give a damn, what inferences of suicide they try to claim in that story. Like, don't ever let that pass your smell test. No Black person is hanging themselves in no damn tree. No Black person is committing suicide that way. I don't give a damn, that there will just don't ever let that pass your smell test. Like that should immediately set off alarms in your mind if you're seeing stuff like that. So just be wary of those sorts of stories. Whenever you see that, it means somebody that there was foul play there, and that should be assumed at the very least. So I just want to I'll Vaughx made a great point there about how when the cops came in, the cops were all concerned about property rights, this and that. We're talking about the history of America here, and how, I mean, I'll let Vaughx have Vaughx said something that I actually, before I even finish watching this video, I tweeted something out that says something about how this, I'm watching the story and I'm reminded that property in America has more rights than Black people. And it's especially ironic, I don't know what you would say, when you consider that Black people were once property in this country, that we still can't even have, full rights, but we got all kinds of property rights, and you're allowed to defend property, and, possession is 9/10 of the law, like they say. It's all, property rights is everything in this country, and you're allowed to murder somebody in cold blood if they come on your property. And in some places, I mean, that's not how it is. Even if somebody like breaks into your home to steal stuff in some countries, it's illegal to shoot them and to kill them. Sorry, like you can't, if you kill somebody, that's still, you murdered them. Like, so I don't even, we can dig more into that and talk as, leftist ideas on things like that. I would love to discuss that more for sure. But this was just something that I wanted to make sure it gets mentioned. And these are the kinds of stories that I want to make sure that I'm highlighting on my channel. Not, not just terrible stuff. I hope it's not always terrible stuff, but just the stories that kind of go under the radar of mainstream news that really shouldn't. And so before I finish this one, I just want to let Vaughx get the last word on this. But I thought it was interesting that he kind of finished with a statement it's very similar to what I had read from this story, what I had interpreted from the story, just like from my initial viewing of it. So here he is, Vaughx Booker.
My name Vaughx. It's from the Latin for voice. There's never been a time that my parents haven't told me to speak up for what's right. My late mother encouraged me to be vocal and to stand up for others when I saw folks put down. I think that what's happening here is happening throughout the nation, where our political leaders have sown discord, where property rights are elevated over the lives of Black people. And it's time for our nation to demand a change.
Beautifully said. Couldn't have said it better. Property rights in this country have been elevated above the rights of human beings, in particular Black people in this country, and Indigenous people, and in non-native people, non-native, I should say, immigrants, because, we can get into things about who's really native to this country. But so that's that. Those, let's just, keep folks like this in our minds and just know that this sort of stuff happens and is still happening, and we have to be aware of it so that we can, fight against it in every way. Thanks for watching Radical Democracy Podcast. I'm your host, Kamali Rose. Please like and share this video, subscribe to the channel, and if it doesn't bother you, hit that bell below to receive notifications whenever we go live or launch a new video. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below, and if you can afford it, do me a huge favor and head over to my Patreon at patreon.com/radicaldemocracy and throw me a few bucks. Whatever you can afford, it goes a long way, and I will greatly appreciate it. It helps the channel to continue to exist and to grow, and I really appreciate the support. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon. All right, peace. All right, that was a good one. That one's it.